Hi, everyone. For those who don't know who I am, my name's Neil. I am the CEO of Youth Engagement Solutions. There's a lot of people I want to thank. First of all, I want to welcome everyone this evening, and I would like to welcome a lot of different types of people. So for those who are supporters who are on tonight, obviously the volunteering and any donations you've ever made have really sort of helped and strengthened the work that we've done. So thank you for coming tonight. Obviously to you, Donna, to welcome you. I already know your story is an inspiration, and I know that everybody here is going to really benefit from just being here and listening to you and asking you questions. Even more key, I would like to welcome the YES staff and volunteers. You guys are the true backbone of the charity and the work that we do. And because we've got this platform, I really just want to say thank you to the YES staff and volunteers. You guys know who you are, and you are truly amazing. And finally, some of the most important people that I can ever thank for being here this night. We've got some of our young people and some of their family members here this evening. You guys are amazing, and thank you for joining and supporting us this evening. The last 12 months have been challenging, not just for us as a charity, but for young people across London. UK Parliament recently released a paper stating that unemployment rate for young people has increased by 11% during the pandemic, and that young people are economically more inactive than they ever have been, with over 225,000 between the ages of 18 and 24 more claiming unemployment-related benefits, which is absolutely crazy amount. And it's also no surprise to learn really that a recent report from the British Medical Journal also found a significant decrease in the physical and mental health of young people, with deterioration clearest among young people and families already struggling, which are a lot of the young people that we at YES support. These figures are concerning, and though things are starting to return to normal, the true impact economically and medically to our young people, I feel, is yet to truly reveal itself, and I think harder times are yet to come. Despite the difficulty over the last year, YES has supported close to 100 new young people to be more physically active, to achieve employment, or move into training, or to support their employability and personal development. On top of these newly engaged, over 500 active young people and families are on our books being regularly supported and engaged throughout the year. The biggest change we have seen in many of our young people and families has been an increase in their confidence in themselves, whether it's been building their confidence in their CV writing, their interview skills, whether it's been their confidence in their personal image, or how confident they are in handling challenges at home. Young people who come through YES leave more confident and more able to make a difference to themselves, their families, and communities. Shortly, I'm going to be introducing two amazing young women, Shan and Patience, who are currently a part of the YES program, and they will be telling you their stories. Their stories that they tell are unique to them, but some of the challenges that they face and problems they're overcoming are sadly not unique. And at YES, what we do is we do all our best to support young people to overcome these challenges and to find a better way forward for themselves. I'm not one for making speeches, so anyone who Googles something about writing a speech will see suggestions time and time again about be honest, get to the point, be clear, be honest, be direct. So basically, here's my pitch to you guys. Without YES, thousands of young people would be unemployed, would still be involved with gangs, would either be in prison or linked directly to young offender institutions, would be underachieving in schools, and lack the confidence and opportunities to overcome adversity and move their lives in a positive direction. This is the amazing impact that we at YES have on young people, and I, for one, am proud to be part of this organization. I am only new. I've only been here just since November, but in that time, I've seen an amazing world of impact that we have done, not just since before my time, but since November. The amount of young people we've been able to help has been truly remarkable. What I'm going to do now is, in a second, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show just a 50-second video of what YES does. So if you give me a second to make sure I get this absolutely spot on, it's going to seem like it's a seamless movement. Hang on a sec. Share sound. There we go. The wonderful world. That was nice, short and sweet. Apologies for my sharing of screen. So without, I guess, oh, apologies. Yeah, so as I mentioned before in my introduction, we have two exceptional young people, Shan and Patience, who are here to tell their stories. But more than that, these two young people will be our interviewers this evening. And so once they introduce themselves, they will then take the mic and it'll be down to them. They've got a few set questions, but ultimately it is up to them to have a chat with Donna, find out more about the impact that she's had around the work that she's been doing. If you have any questions, this is anybody else who are here. There is a Q&A box and a chat box, so please feel free to use them to ask questions and we will come to them at the end, and then there'll be a final bit at the end. So I am quickly, and I said previously, seamlessly going to be promoting Patience and Shan to the, here we go. Here is Patience. Hello, Patience.
Hi.
And here is Shan. So these guys are going to take it over. I'm going to keep quiet, so I'm going to leave it to you guys.
Hi, so my name's Patience Kavile. I'm one of the girls that's with Crickled Wanderers, the girls football team. And I've just been playing football there for a couple of years, but it's been more than just playing football. Like, it's kind of like a safe place for me. Like, they provide more than just football. They provide tuition to try help us with learning. They taught to us about team learning skills. Like, they just provide more than just playing football. And it's, for me, it's like personally helped me a lot, because before the team, I wasn't really doing much. And I guess like it helped me kind of find who I was and find out what I wanted to do. Because yeah, you're just playing football and there's a football side to it, but they also taught you about what you want to do, and like they'll help you with career meetings. So me personally, I want to go into law when I go to uni, and they've always been supportive of that, and just told me that like they could set up interviews for me to talk to other people and like just help me to try go down the right path in a way. It's not been the easiest, because coming from like a Black African Caribbean and like my parents don't want me spending all my time on football type thing, which I can understand, because they want me to do the best I can in life. So like the coaches and everyone who I work with, like they try to show my parents like this isn't just a football aspect, like it's life skills, and they're helping me with my education. Like it's so much more than just a football team to me personally, and I will forever be grateful, because in a way they shape me to be the person I am right now. Like I'm in year 11 currently, about to finish my GCSEs, but that first lockdown, like the team put so much effort, like the coaches and everyone put so much effort into making sure that the team was mentally okay as well as physically, like putting on little game sessions in nights where it's just like, oh, little message games on the group chat, just making sure all the girls are all right, making sure everyone's okay, like little things like that, making sure we're mentally okay, writing poems about how we feel about the first lockdown. Like, not a lot of people ask, how do you feel? And not a lot of people actually consider how people our age are feeling. And the fact that every week they'll try to make sure that we're getting involved in something, and you can see the participants and who is and isn't getting involved, and they'll go out of their way to ask, oh, like, oh, you're right, you haven't been joining, like that sort of thing, which I just find particularly great. So yeah, Sean, would you like to?
Okay, so hold on. Yeah. Hi, I'm Sean. I'm 17. I as well, like Patience and part of Cricklewood Wanderers, which is one of the girls' teams that they have for football. Pretty much what Patience said, like my parents had worries about me playing football and just focusing all on that. But yes, like helped me focus on education and everything else. They helped me with my tuition, and like I saw a difference in my own academic grades and work. And mentally they helped a lot as well, because I'm not like a social person, so like doing this is kind of a bit much as well, but they organized sessions and stuff for us that helped with our interpersonal skills and everything else. And the team itself is like a family. It's become a family. Like it was at first just a football club, but after the first 2-3 sessions you feel like a group, like you feel as one, like one body and one unit. And yes, Engagement Solutions has like given me loads of opportunities like for the wider society, because I'm in year 12 now, and I know personally I want to go into international relations and law and all of that as well. So they've got me involved with other people that have connections. So far I've had different Zoom calls with like 2 or 3 different people involved in international relations or politics, and through them I've already have like major opportunities that I wouldn't have come across had I not joined Yes. And like the community, like the way that Yes is structured is a way that my parents would like, and it's helped a lot, because growing up, like I grew up in Stonebridge, obviously there wasn't a lot for girls my age to do. Like there weren't any girls teams, or if you wanted to join a team you had to travel far. And like traveling, my parents are both working, so I'd be on public transport. With Yes, it's like one straight bus and it's quick and everyone knows where everyone is, so it's not a case of like safety's an issue. And I think they've really helped loads of different people. Like you've got us that are just girls of our age playing football, but then you've got younger kids that I've seen come in during the summer, and they've changed from like the start till the end when we had them. And like I don't see them as much now, but you can definitely see a difference in their character and how much they developed as people. But yeah, that's me, I guess.
A couple questions that we have to ask is how was your childhood growing up, like, you know, where you came from, like where you grew up, like how was that?
So hi Patience, hi Sean again. I've read a little bit about both of you, so I have a little bit of a background. Very interesting, because there were a lot of things that I read that sounded a lot like me, very much so. So it's quite good to be interviewed by people who look like me and have gone through a similar journey to myself. So a little bit of background about me. I grew up in Thornton Heath in Croydon. So any Croydonians out there, give a thumbs up. My background comes from the Caribbean, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So when sport was presented to me as a potential career, they weren't too keen either. It was like, no way, athletics is not going to pay the bills. So we want you to be either a doctor, a lawyer, or something of that ilk. But my sister, much older than myself, 10 years older than me, she convinced them, because at the time I was extremely shy. At the age of 8, that's when athletics became something I wanted to do. And watching the Olympics in '84 really inspired me to want to be an Olympian. So my sister convinced my parents to allow me to join the local club. And the world was my oyster. I was surrounded by like-minded people who wanted to get to an Olympic Games, who just wanted to win. And those are exactly the same things that I wanted. So again, building that network, which both of you already mentioned, that was my safe space. It allowed me to blossom into the person that I am. But had I not had that, God knows what kind of individual I would have been. But sport is a huge platform for anyone who wants to pursue any career, both mentally and physically, which you've both mentioned. And what you've said, Patience, in terms of your parents supporting, very similar to me, but I was adamant, my mindset, that I would prove them wrong, that I can do both. I can do my sport and I can study. It's just down to you as the individual, whether you want to pursue that and just be focused and committed to achieving both.
So would you say that when your sister kind of stuck up for you and you went to like your first athletics training, that's where your like passion and love for the sport came from?
Oh, definitely. Well, my family were very sport orientated. You know, people from the Caribbean love watching cricket and, you know, supported that. But I wasn't a cricketer. I found that too slow and too boring for me. But yeah, constantly surrounded by sport on the TV. A lot of my family members played sport, but they didn't see it as a career. You know, it was more of a hobby. But my sister also was into athletics, and she didn't get as far as I did, but really could see that I had the talent. And likewise, my school teachers did as well. And then my club was a huge support network for me, which again is just absolutely important. That support network to keep pushing you as an individual forward is absolutely paramount.
Would you say that you faced any challenges like growing into the sport?
Oh gosh, there's always challenge. Life will throw challenges at you regardless. It's how you deal with them. And I always say they will knock you down, and it's up to you whether you choose to get up and keep going. All the challenges that I've experienced, whether that's injury, illnesses, not winning races, you know, it was always thrown at me. And then obviously later on in my world of work as well, there were constant knockbacks, but that's all part and parcel of aiming for success. You will get those barriers put in front of you, and you just have to either work through it or navigate your way around it. It may take a longer pathway than you planned, but it's important that you stick to that goal that you want to achieve, and not let these challenges hold you back.
Was there a like particular challenge that will forever stick out to you? And if so, like how did you deal with it?
Yeah, I think the first one I would have encountered was, you know, as an athlete, and you will know as footballers, there's probably not one day you get up and there's something that's not aching, whether it's a muscle, you're hurting, you're sore, whatever. That is part and parcel of being an athlete. But it was my last injury, that I had, my Achilles injuries. I was always hampered by that, but was able to manage it. But when it finally gave in, it wiped me out for a number of years. So I really did struggle with getting back to that. And again, it was just all about my mindset and staying focused on my end goal, where I wanted to be. That got me up in the morning and stick with the rehabilitation, which can be very, very tedious and boring, especially when you're seeing your training partners or your opponents doing what you can't do. It can be really difficult mentally. But I just tried to stay focused. And again, this was when my support network played a huge role in that. My coach, my training partners, just to keep me on track. But at the same time, I had to reflect on where I was and get my mindset right and accept that I was not able to do what my training partners were doing. So I had to focus on me and just stick to that plan. But it was difficult, I won't lie, it absolutely was. But it's really important that you still focus on your end goal. And then, of course, towards the latter part of my career, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and that was a huge blow to me. Simple fact being, you know, I thought I was as fit as I possibly could. How can I possibly be diagnosed with breast cancer with no family history whatsoever? It knocked me for six. And how do you deal with that? So yeah, that was a journey in itself. And of course, I was still competing at the time. So dealing with that, only a certain amount of people knew about what I was going through. And then I was forced to retire from the sport because of that. But going back to what I said before, I wasn't done yet. I wasn't wanting to end my career on that note. I wanted to end on my terms. So a couple of years later, I came out of retirement just to, from an inspirational perspective, just to prove that, you know, anyone that's going through any challenge, you can overcome it. Some don't, unfortunately, some do not win the battle against cancer, but I'm fortunate, one of the few that did.
We know that you speak strongly about diversity and inclusion. What made you just want to like fight for justice in like a type of way? Like, what made you want to speak so strongly about it?
Yeah, this is a really interesting question. I've been asked that for quite a few times over the last few months. So I would say now I look back, it's always been part of me without me even realizing it, especially that inclusion piece. And I'll tell you a story. In 1994 at the Commonwealth Games, I went as a relay runner. I didn't go for the individual. And of course, the relay is right at the end of the athletics program. So you can imagine I was eager to be part of the team and step foot on that track. But unfortunately, I didn't make the cut and didn't make the team to compete. So I was absolutely devastated. But that whole time that I was there, I didn't feel part of the team. Coming from the juniors where you were very collective and you're always around each other, no matter what event you did, you were part of a team. I didn't feel part of the team in 94. And I made two promises after that. One was that I would never get selected to represent my country and not step foot on the track. And the second one is any new person coming into a team, I will make it as my duty to make sure they feel included and part of that team, because you can imagine how nerve-wracking it is for a new person coming onto a team, not knowing the ropes, not knowing anything. And I was adamant that I would do that. So that inclusion piece is really important to me. Equality, I think in athletics, we are extremely diverse and it is equal. There's male, female, there are equal events and so forth. But as I said, from a very young age, I was exposed to this, and I went to an all-girls primary school, and my head teacher would always say, we were her young lady, we need to fight for whatever we want to do and believe in that, because, you know, growing up in the 70s, it was very much male dominated. Things haven't changed too much, they are getting better. So I had that mindset from a very, very young age, that female leadership qualities in me without me even realizing it. And then later on in my career, I was catapulted into that piece of work at EDF Energy, leading our Black Asian Minority Ethnic Network, which was all about career progression and support again. And that's my passion. I seem to do it quite naturally with it, without it being forceful. It is quite authentic from my perspective. But yeah, I love it, and I like making a difference for people around me. If I can help, I'm absolutely willing to open doors for others.
So you spoke about like growing up, it was like a very male dominated space. Did you have men, or you didn't have, it was male dominated, but was there any particular athlete or person that you looked up to at the time when you were going into athletics?
Oh, I had so many role models. I think the first one has to be my mother. She wasn't an athlete, but you know, she came over to this country in the 60s, and as you can imagine, had to overcome so many challenges and adversity. And despite all of that, and it's only now I'm much older, I know some of the struggles that she had, but she never ever showed that. And she had all girls. My dad was the only male in the house, so he was outnumbered by far. However, he was a huge ally for women and his women. You know, he taught my sisters how to change a plug from a very early age, you know, doing, as they said then, boys things. And it wasn't the case of Donna, Jenny, Cheryl and Rose had to do girly things. If you need to do something, be independent and you do it. So again, from a very, very early age, my dad was a huge supporter of us. And it's not a male-female thing. We do need male allies to speak about us when we're not in the room. We need that support. It's not always about female leadership, but yeah, it's something that I'm hugely passionate about.
Sorry. You mentioned like starting athletics properly when you were 8. Were there many athletics meets and groups and clubs that you were easily accessible to you, like in Croydon, or do you think there could have been more done in order to get you and many other girls into the sport?
Yeah, I was quite lucky. Croydon Harris wasn't that far from me, so I would get home, change, and go training, and my sister would pick me up in the evening, so I didn't have to travel back. But you know, I'm mindful that that's not so easy for many youngsters. Hence why Yes is a great platform to provide that service for so many youngsters. But again, if that wasn't the case, I would have found a way to get there and get back. But yeah, the club accessibility in athletics especially is straightforward. There are a few clubs and tracks are all over the place. There's not enough, and there aren't enough sporting facilities. I'll be honest with that. We need more of that, and especially with some of the stats that Neil already covered, we absolutely do need more services in place to support the next generation, both mentally and physically. But for me, yeah, I've definitely, again, the support network, if my sister wasn't there, it would have been a lot harder for me.
Okay, thank you. I don't know, I feel like you've answered most of the stuff that I was going to ask. Is there any advice you would give to your younger self or to younger people out there that want to become athletes or follow a different route?
I love this question because I always think, oh, when I was younger, I couldn't wait to grow up. But now I look back and I think, what would I say to myself? It's straightforward. Just aim high. It's all about that self-belief and just not setting your standards too low. The sky's the limit. When you're young, the world is your oyster. So aim high and do not let anyone tell you any different. Don't let anyone stand in your way. Just push them out the way and keep going. In my career, I lost quite a few friends through being away a lot and not being able to go where they wanted me to go. And I can honestly count my friends on one hand. Those I can rely on and who understood what my goals were and why I was doing it and why I was away for weeks on end and not seeing them. But they knew once I returned, I'd make time for them. So you know who your true friends are, who are going to support and want the best for you. And that goes for your parents, those at Yes as well. You know, they want the best for you because they can see a talent in yourselves. You may not see it, but they see a talent, they see that potential in you. So, you know, they're there for you and will always push you to reach your full potential.
What do you have for like children our age or even younger than us regarding the whole like diversion kind of thing?
Sorry, can you repeat that, Patience?
What advice do you have for people, like young people our age, like concerning like diversion and inclusion and that type of thing?
You know what, I always say, and I'll use the acronym ED&I, Equality, Diversity, Inclusion. Some of it is common sense. It's treating people how you expect to be treated. And unfortunately, in the world that we live in today, there's always inequalities. There's so many inequalities out there, but we have to pursue and continue to fight. And if you look back 50, 60 years ago, things were a nightmare, especially for females. You know, even the female vote, you know, it took a while to get through. But if you go fast forward again from now, another 50 years, things will be even better than they are now. So yes, we are taking pigeon steps, but in terms of getting into this space, it is about being who you are, being your authentic self, and going back to that inclusion piece, treating each other how you expect to be treated.
Thank you.
My question, like going off on a different tangent, I was going to ask, at which moment in your career did you think, or did you have a moment where you're like, I've made it, like I finally accomplished what I wanted to do? Like your moment, like everything slows down and you're like, yeah, I did this.
No, I set my goal when I was 11 years old, as I said, watching the 84 Olympic Games, and I kept going. And many people named me the grandma of athletics because I kept going. They're like, when is Donna ever going to retire? But the reason why I kept going is because I hadn't achieved my goal. Unfortunately, due to the breast cancer, I had to give up that goal. But now I put all my efforts into the world of work and what I do. And that's what gets me up in the morning. And what I would say to young people now, it's so important to set those goals, you know, those short, medium, long-term goals, because when you look at it, sometimes you can set them so high, they almost seem unachievable. So those short, medium, long-term goals will help and inspire you to keep going. And yeah, I wouldn't say there was a time that I absolutely thought I've achieved everything. Absolutely no, because you can always do more. But believe me, there were times when I wanted to give up. I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. But again, kept going back to that goal that I set. That's what kept me going, because I believed I could achieve that. But yeah, you can always, there's always something you can do. There's always improvements you can make. There's always tweaks you can make. I haven't made it. Yes, I've achieved a lot, but there's still more that I can do.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if Patience has any more. Yeah.
A couple questions that are on the Q&A that I'm gonna, well, should I read out? Rebecca Foreman said, as a mom to 3 girls, it is so sad to see how they can quickly go off sports and being active, especially when they become teenagers. Our society does not encourage girls to be sporty. It's so good to see you also positive about football and being active. What can we do to change attitudes to be more?
That's a great question. Yes, we definitely have a huge issue with fallout with teenage girls specifically, especially in athletics, and we're doing a huge amount in that space. For me, I think it's all about role models, and I know, Patience, you asked that question earlier. As a former athlete myself, I take it upon myself to be that role model and hopefully give that direction and not make the same mistakes that I made. But it's important to consistently talk about the positivity that sport brings to anyone, not necessarily girls, but also that whole body image is a huge piece. You know, social media now, which wasn't around when I was growing up, can either be negative or positive, sometimes negative more so, because they're seeing these celebrities doing all sorts and they want to be like them. And are they positive role models? I'm not too sure, not all of them. So it's important that as parents to young girls and young boys that we be role models, and in our sport, in athletics, we're trying to create those role models as well, because they're on the TV 24/7. But at the same time, I know there's a fear with young girls of putting on muscle bulk, and that's just such a myth. It's not about that, but it's also those other benefits that sport brings, which you mentioned, Patience. It's not just about the physical side of it, it's also that mental side and those skills that you develop. And I know for a fact, if I hadn't done sport, I wouldn't be speaking to you this right now, because I was extremely shy. But sport brought that out in me. It gave me that confidence, the resilience, the determination, all those buzzwords that you not only need in sport, but you also need in the workplace when you do get employed, and staying that, all that time management, all of those skills are so, so important, which sport brings to you without you even realizing it.
Another question that we have by Colette Ryan, she said, he or she, what were you most proud of / greatest achievement when you were competing?
Oh my gosh, I have quite a few actually. I think number one, when I was a youngster, I ran 6 English schools championships and won every single one consecutively, which is a rare occurrence. I think only 2 of us have achieved that. And then in 2005 at our championships, I ran the 200 and the 400 in one weekend and won both. Again, that hadn't been done since 1945. And then, of course, the iconic race that everyone remembers me for in 2000, the Olympic Games. I came 4th in that race, a very close 3rd. Missed out on a medal, but getting to an Olympic final, no one expected me to, hence why I say you just got to believe in yourself. At that moment, I didn't quite believe in myself. I think that's what let myself down. However, being 4th best in the world and breaking the 50-second barrier, which is huge for any quarter miler, that is definitely a huge achievement for myself.
If I've asked, did you experience any difficulties because of being a woman, and how did you deal with those gender stereotypes?
So in athletics, as I said, it's extremely diverse. You're in the team with male and female. So I think I'm probably in one of the best sports. I won't be too biased to be around that. So it was no different. I think probably in the world of work it is tougher, but I think I was probably blind to it simply because of my upbringing. I knew where I wanted to be. I had a great dad who, you know, I was exposed to other males and that dominance, as it were, but I knew how to deal with it. And it is difficult. I'm not saying everyone will be like me, absolutely, but I wouldn't say that I'd experienced because I'm a woman, more so because of my ethnicity. I'd experienced some moments when I was traveling in different countries where there aren't that many people who look like me, and you're getting the constant stares and the jeers and all of that. And that still happens to this day. It happens in football, as you know, because it's in the news. But you absolutely do need that support from the sport in order to deal with that. Not saying that these people who are you know, relaying those messages will change. We can't change who these people are, but it's how you deal with it. And it is extremely difficult to overcome that, especially when you're away trying to compete to the best of your ability and perform. That can have a huge impact mentally and on your performance, unfortunately. But as an NGB that I do work for, we're hugely supportive of our athletes if that was to happen, and we'll take action accordingly.
Okay. Colette Ryan also asks, out of all the roles you have now, which one do you most enjoy?
I don't do anything that I don't enjoy. And I've always been that way. If once the minute I stop enjoying it, it's time for me to move on. I think that's why it has to be authentic. It has to mean something to me and be positive. I like that feel-good factor that I'm making a difference. Even with athletics, I always said, the minute I wake up in the morning and really don't want to do this anymore, that's time that I need to retire. That moment never came, hence why I kept going. So me as an individual, I have to have fun in everything that I'm doing. I have to enjoy it. You have to enjoy what you do. Otherwise, you're just doing it half-heartedly. You're not giving it your 110%.
Romario asks, what do you believe is the greatest ingredient for success, talent or hard work?
Wow, that's a very good question. I would say it's hard work, number one. And the reason why I say that is, you know, I was talented as a youngster, but there came a point that talent only took me so far. I had to change training groups in order to excel. I was too much in my comfort zone, being ahead in my training group too much and just plodding along. When I changed groups, took myself out of that easy environment into a much harder training group where my training partners were much quicker than myself. Talent didn't matter. It was about putting the work into it, and boy, did it hurt. So again, it's just pushing those boundaries a little bit more each time to reach that ultimate goal and achieve success. Otherwise, you would just plateau and stay the same. So I think definitely hard work.
Mark Crossley asked, have you asked to appear on Strictly Dancing on Ice or I'm a Celebrity?
Oh dear. This is a running joke. The reason why I'm not laughing at the question, it's a running joke. I was asked to go on Strictly many years ago, but I turned it down because of my athletics, and I just didn't want to get injured. None of the others, but I'm very tempted to go on I'm a Celebrity. That definitely intrigues me, but I get eaten alive by mosquitoes, so I think I would struggle with that.
Someone asked, well, they said, it's hard for young people to know what they want to do. There's so many choices, and how would I know what I want? Are there any small steps you can suggest to help me start to think about what I want to do generally?
First and foremost, what is your passion? That would help you lead the way, and not what your parents want you to do, what you want to do. It's really important. And I'm not disrespecting the parents out there, but parents, you know, you've lived your life, you've got to support and let your children live the best life that they can. It may not be what you wanted, but you've just got to be the support network. One thing that I think is huge in terms of setting that pathway, and I think it's a great tool to use, is develop a vision board, where once you've established what you want or where you want to be, you start finding pictures and positive affirmations, whether that is quotes or, I don't know. I mean, for example, in 10 years time, I want to retire and be on the veranda in the Caribbean drinking cocktails. So I would have pictures of cocktails, I'll have a picture of the beach, I'll have a picture of a rocking chair. It tells a story of where you want to be. And those little nuggets that you'll have on your wall of your vision board will inspire you to take those little pigeon steps of what you need to do to achieve, to get to that end goal, what you've set out, that pathway. It's really, really simple in terms of that goal setting. I keep things simple, because when you overcomplicate things, that's when you lose your way sometimes. So number one, make sure that they are SMART. So you know that acronym, SMART objectives, SMART goals. So make it specific. What do you want to achieve? Make sure it's measurable. So how are you going to, when do you want this to happen? Attainable. Are you going to, is it achievable? Is it too far? Is it too big? Just make sure that it's achievable. Is it realistic and relevant to yourself, not to your parents, not to your best friend? And I think either Patience or Sean, you mentioned, you know, if someone says something, you jump on the bandwagon. No, this has to be relevant to you. And also, is it timely? So that SMART goal is so key. The other one I've mentioned around the vision board. And then the third one that I always think is a brilliant way is to start a journal. You know, you know your goal, you know your overarching goal, where you want to be and what steps you need to take. Who's your support network? Who's going to help you get to that end goal? Who's going to support you as you go forward? What do you need to do? Who do you need to engage with? Do you need to study this particular? Do you need to talk to this person? Start mapping out all those steps towards that end goal and document everything, because it will be interesting, which will inspire you when you look back on that journal, how far you've come and how you're progressing. And if you're not progressing, then you need to keep track of that.
Rebecca said, please go on Strictly, you would be awesome. And Mark also asked how your journey was as a OBE.
Oh, wow. So that's another good question. I didn't see that this OBE coming at all. I sit on the Sport Honours Committee that give out the Queen's Honours to sporting achievers, and I didn't see my OBE at all. I thought it was a hoax, to be honest. I didn't see it coming. I don't do what I do to get awards and accolades. That's not what I'm about, but I am absolutely honoured and over the moon to have received it for the work that I've done at UK Athletics in the workplace around ED&I. So yes, I will embrace it. I'm over the moon, absolutely. But what I do is not to get awards and accolades. It is just to make a difference to the people that I engage with.
Michelle Charles asked, do you have a mentor, and would you recommend having one?
Yes and yes. Keep it simple. Absolutely. I've got two mentors. Again, going back to what I said in terms of mapping out who your support network is. Now, I have a mentor for different reasons. I'd say my parents were definitely my first mentors, because those were the life skills and help nurtured me as a young woman. But then my sister as well, you know, just what she's done, going from a dental nurse, now a lawyer, changing career, she inspired me, and just how she did that, how she navigated that. But then also I have one within work, a mentor. She's our CEO, and one externally, who will see things from a different perspective. So according to what you want and where you want to be and how they can help you, absolutely yes, I have various, but I am a huge advocate for mentorship, and I'm also a mentor for others.
I think the last question, Romario said, how would you define high performance, both in and out of competitive sport?
How would I define high performance? That is a very good question. So I would define it as, it differs, in all honesty. I mean, I can only talk about how I see it when I was in my sport for how many, God knows how many years, over 20 years. High performance, there are different scales, because how the sport itself defines high performance may not be how I deem high performance, and they would set that scale. So in order for me to qualify for the Olympics, then I would need to get that standard to get to the Olympics. That has to be high performing. But for me, it goes beyond that. I have to be high performing in my mind, because it's all mental as well. And a prime example was in Sydney 2000. I was as fit as a fiddle. I was the fittest I'd ever been, but mentally I wasn't right. So it's part and parcel. There's two sides to it. So you have to be high performing mentally and high performing mentally to reach that optimum scale of success. But that's the best way I can keep it simple for me. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I think those are all the questions.
Yeah.
And Patience, having never done this before, you two have been absolute naturals this evening. Thank you so much for asking your questions, your additional question, and leading that last bit was amazing. Thank you guys so much. I actually just have a quick question for you, Donna, before we sort of finish off. It's been really up in the news lately about the term BAME. And I feel like it would be silly of me to not have this opportunity to ask you, what is your opinion on the use of the term, and where do you think the idea came from that actually it shouldn't be used, or should it be used? What's your opinion?
Yeah, when I started working in this field of ED&I, BAME was widely used and it was the norm. Now, when it depends what term, and it's all contextual. So if you're saying BAME as as part of a sentence, it is deemed now as being quite lazy. But if you're looking at it from a statistical perspective, if you think about it, the Black, the Asian, if you break that down and you're doing stats, then there are different pockets within that umbrella in itself. So you can't bucket everything into one pot. You can't, because there's so many different strands to each of them. So you've got Black Caribbean, you've got Black African, you've got Asian Bangladeshi, Asian Indian, Asian Chinese. If you were looking at it from a statistical perspective and just lumped it all together, it wouldn't paint the right picture. If you broke it down, it will absolutely send a different message altogether. So it really is contextual. We're now saying it is very lazy. If you're going to say it, you say it in full, which you did, Neil. Absolutely, Black, Asian, minority, ethnic. But we're moving away from using that term now. We're more using ethnically diverse communities, or being specific. If you want to say the Black community, you say the Black community, or if you say the Asian Chinese community, you absolutely say that, but not everyone will know what that is. So it is a term that we're definitely phasing out now in the whole sector as a whole.
Yeah, it sounds like the absolute right direction to go, encompassing as many people within one phrase is, as you said, it's lazy. Actually, there's so many denominations out there, and it's hard to represent them all, but I absolutely take everything you said. We have a few minutes left, and we have one last speaker, but I would like to say absolutely fantastic interview this evening, Donna. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you this evening. We are extremely lucky, and so thank you so much for being a part of this evening with us.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you, Sean and Patience. Good luck in all what you do.
So this leads me to finally introduce the last speaker of the evening. I'm passing over to Adam, who is our chairman, and I will let him close out the evening. As a final goodbye from me, thank you everybody for attending this evening. It's been really well attended. I've really enjoyed every second of it. Sian and Patience, you've been beyond exceptional. I know I've been listening to everything you've said, and the team are so proud of you guys. You epitomize everything that we've done. So well done to you too. Adam, I will pass it over to you.
Thank you, Neil, and thank you, Donna, for really inspirational talk this evening. And I think the grace with which you used to run on the track is equated with the grace with which you spoke to us this evening, which I think was very inspiring to all. And also to Patience and Sian, I think if I ever needed to pick two better interviewers, I don't think I could do so. So you did a great job. So thank you so much. The only thing I disagree with what you said, Donna, was I think when you said cricket is boring. I can't agree with that as somebody who's a great cricket lover. But other than that, I think we had your words were really moving. And thank you so much for giving up your time and speaking to us this evening. I wanted to firstly also thank our founder and our previous CEO, Carmen Lorente. Carmen, you showed over many years incredible leadership of Yes Youth Engagement Solutions. We met, quite a few years ago when you convinced me to become a trustee, and what you've done, both, in everything, in all ways, and I know what, and I think you know what I mean by that. The way you've sort of supported and ensured that Yes has kept going over all these years. Our thanks to you are sort of beyond measure, really. And you've certainly, the thanks go in all the many young people whose lives you've changed over those years. And I know we'll continue to work closely with you in your new role as chair of Cricklewood Wanderers. Since 2008, initially through another charity, the Yes team under Carmen's guidance has helped around 3,000 young people under 30, quite a staggering number. And with the motto really that every person is important and has potential. Currently, we offer three main services: health and well-being, careers and employment, and sports. Our health and well-being services are focused across different age groups, from under 12s to young adults. They have included our popular Fit and Fed programs, which combine fitness activities for children in school holidays with full healthy meals. And this was the feedback from one particular parent. We would like to thank every person involved in organising and running this scheme. It has been a godsend club for us. The boys have enjoyed all the sports events that have gained many skills, social, team building, and many more. The lunches that were provided were of high quality. The boys never complained. You can't get better than that. The health and wellbeing services aim to combine physical activity, healthy eating, and education on drugs and crime. This will often include working with the families. Secondly, our careers and employment services provides help with CVs, job applications, employment advice, and setting up one's own business. We have supported over 250 young people gain employment since our employment service was launched in January 2016. Many others have gone on into further education. Our sports activities, which now will be combined with Cricklewood Wanderers, have enabled us to run a successful amateur football club, where we run one adult team and 3 youth teams for both boys and girls. We also provide coaching and other extracurricular activities for local schools through after-school clubs. We have used the football club as a way of encouraging many young people, of which you've seen 2 excellent people today, who will use our wider services to assist with education, training, and employment. We've even had a number of our young people successfully forge a career in professional football. During the pandemic, we've been able to switch and continue our services online. And I would like to thank our dedicated staff who have put their heart and soul in enabling us to continue our vital services over the last year. Thanks, of course, to Carmen and now to Neil as CEO, along with Alfred, Ava, Romario, and Ifat. One of our challenges, of course, is funding, as most of our income is restricted in nature, which means it needs to be allocated to specific projects. We do, as a charity, need to raise our unrestricted sources of funding each year, i.e. through donations, to cover overheads and ensure cash flow remains in the black which has not always been the case. This is why we are looking to do a number of these events each year and to build up supporters who can help us each year raise the sum of £30,000 so that we can continue our activities outside of the restricted funding which we receive. This is not an appeal today for extra funds, but it is for you to continue to support our future events and to agree to help us when we do need such funds. The impact we have on the lives of young people is great and enables them to fulfill their potential. And even if they do not become an Olympic athlete or even a 4 times Olympic athlete, they can play an active and positive role in our society. So thank you so much for coming, and I do hope you will be able to attend our future events. Good evening.